Hello again. My name is Emma. Welcome to my channel. Okay, so we're reading again. And I know I left off on page 22 on my book that I had written 25 years ago of my wanted to be novel. Still working on it. I had mentioned before, I had recently did a video on a Dollar Tree haul, and I had mentioned before that while last night I was rereading it, and things were already like coming to mind, like, oh, okay, I remember this and I remember that, and oh yeah, now I remember why I wrote this and why I wrote that. So some of the paragraphs or scenes in my head are coming back to me. So hopefully I could start writing and furthering the manuscript. So I didn't want to say script because it's not a movie, it's a book. Okay, so I'm just gonna start off the bat, and I did leave off on page 22. Not drinking tea today because I have like the sore throat, and my nose feels tingly, and I'm like, oh God, I hope I'm not coming down with the cold. And usually if and when I do start feeling that scratchy throat, tea just doesn't work for me. But a nice hot cup of coffee, it just makes it feel a lot, it soothes my throat. And like I said, I always have these two mugs. I have this one for my coffee, and then I have the other one for my tea. My other tea sets are for when I go out and have like an afternoon tea or high tea, and I share whatever little bits of foods here and there of what I'm going to have with my tea. So yeah, so it's coffee tonight. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump in, and we're gonna get started. Okay, so I did leave off at where she met Alan at the grocery store because she had ran out of coffee and she needed to get cat food and milk. Okay, so she was at the counter at the checkout line, and she was getting ready to pay for her goods. So $29.19, shouted the attendant to distract her from staring out the window. Oh, I'm sorry, and handed her 3 tens. As she stood waiting for her change, she could hear the car drive off. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to go with him. He could fill me in on all that went on and all of the people. Why is he still around? Which now became a mystery to her. She sat in her wagon, ready to leave. Oh, I remember this part. And looked at the card once more. As a matter of fact, I do that when I'm reading my books. I'll be like, where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. And then sometimes I backtrack because I was like, I don't remember if I read this or not. And I'll catch a phrase, and I was like, oh, and then I have to read the whole page all over again, then I'll continue. But that's what happens when you read a book. You know, you're never really sure where you leave off, or you have to mark it or something. And that's what I do in the mornings. I mark it or try to remember the last sentence or the top of the next page of what was said, so that when I wake up, I know where I'm at, and I know what next page or what page I'm on next. She sat in her wagon, ready to leave, and looked at the card once more. The card read Attorney Alan Wilkins. Her eyes sprang out. He's a lawyer? The possibility of him becoming anything was minimal. She slipped the card into the right side pocket of her jacket. Let's go home. Mommy has lots to do tomorrow. After putting Anthony back into his room, exhausted from the whole day, she went to her bedroom and dropped herself on the bed. Lying still, she could hear her heart thumping. She inhaled in and out, trying to catch her breath, then fell to sleep. Within moments, what? What's up?
Watching you read.
Huh?
I'm watching you read.
Oh, okay. How long are you going to stand there? Okay.
Read.
Sorry. I don't want to get this. Don't close the door. After putting Anthony back to his room, exhausted the whole day, she went. Now he got me distracted. Then fell to sleep. I'm just going to bounce right down. Within moments, Cynthia felt her body and her mind drift away. Cynthia, wait up, she heard a voice shouting behind her. When she turned, she saw the man that she had to someday make part of her life. Here, take these, will you? It was Vinny, who shoved his books into her chest while he bent down to tie his gym shoe lace. When he stood up, Cynthia couldn't help but stare into his dark brown eyes. He was so handsome to her, with his waved hair that reached down to his neck, almost touching his shoulders, wearing a short tee and matching blue shorts. Everything about him was strong and built. He kept his fitness by running track in college every day. Listen, I have to send in a written composition to English tomorrow, and I don't have the time. He opened one of the books in front of her and showed her an outline of a story. It's all here. Just do the best you can. I'm counting on you. I gotta go. He took the other books and left. It was nothing new. I was in love with Vinny. I'd do anything for him. In an instant, she felt Vinny heavy on top of her. No, Vinny, stop, you're drunk. She could feel herself almost breathless trying to push Vinny off. Come on, son. Everybody knows how you feel about me, and tonight you're going to prove it. And that moment, he had her pinned to the floor and nowhere to move. Don't, Vinny, don't, she yelled out from her sleep. Her body broke into a cold sweat. She gazed around the room, trying to remember where she was. When her eyes came to focus, she realized she was in her mother's room. She got off the bed impetuously towards the dresser, holding tight to both ends, tears flowing down her cheeks. She took her right hand to wipe the tears away, pulling hard on the handles of the drawers. She looked for something more comfortable. She took a last check on Anthony, then went back to bed. The next morning, Cynthia woke with the alarm ringing off at 8:00 a.m. With the sun shining through, that gave her room a bright, soft glow. She stretched her arms open high into the air, feeling a little uneasy, but ready to get started. She bounced out of bed and pulled up a pair of jeans and a light yellow sweater. Cynthia walked barefooted down into the kitchen, making herself an instant cup of coffee. She took her coffee onto the den where her mother took care of all the bookkeeping. She placed her coffee on the top of a coaster, not wanting to ruin Mother's antique desk. Cynthia began opening and closing drawers, searching for any documents pertaining to the value of the house or bank books that would tell her if her mother had anything saved. Okay, Mom, where are they? Receipts, balance dues, tax form statements. Yes, I could start with these. Let's see. What do we have here? You have 3 accounts and they're all closed. Talking out loud, as if her mother can hear her. This can't be right. She threw the pen on the desk and sat back on a swiveled black chair in bewilderment. Just then the phone rang and Cynthia moved up towards to pick up the receiver. Who is it? Good morning, darling. Did you sleep well? Myra, I'm so glad you called. No, you know how first overnighters can be. I'm in the den going through Mother's papers. Myra, there's no funds here. Mother didn't go bankrupt, did she? No, that's why I called. I should have told you yesterday. I'm sorry, dear. Now listen carefully. Your mother has a key hidden in her bedroom closet to the left of the light. There's a key underneath the shelf way back in the corner. Your mother was always scared of being robbed. She didn't want to take chances with her savings. Why don't you run up and pick up the receiver and let me know when you find it? I'll hold on. Great, because I can't do anything unless I know what I'm dealing with. Cynthia practically flew up the stairs. As soon as she found the key, she gave a confirmation to her aunt. Thank you so much, Myra. What would I do without you? I'll call soon and let you know how things are coming along. Bye. As she hung up the phone, she became more at ease, walking back to the closet and grabbed a step stool in order for her to reach the key. Holding the key in her hand, she looked up over the shelf and saw a gray cash box in between old shoe boxes. She took it down and sat on the bed with it. A rapid twist of the key made the top pop open, and inside was indeed an account book and the deed to the house, the most important paper of all. The house, no doubt, was Mother's. Well, I guess now is a good time as any to start looking for a broker. She went back downstairs and took the yellow pages from the den and went to sit on the living room sofa. She flipped pages after pages trying to find a good realtor. Now remember, this was 25 years ago. So, yellow pages? We don't have those anymore. Remember the books that used to come? They used to drop them off on your doorstep? It was like the yellow pages and the neighborhood directory. After having that nightmare last night, that alone convinced her even more of why she should leave and go back home. Boy, there are just so many. I don't know from which to choose. Maybe I'm better off going to a broker here in the area. Taking a small sip from her cup, she looked up, and coming down half awake was Anthony. Hi, baby. Did you sleep all right? Anthony rubbed his eyes and shook his head a little. No, Mommy, I want to go home. I know, sweetheart. As soon as Mommy sells the house, we'll leave. But that's going to take long, cried Anthony. It's funny. In a funny way, Anthony seemed to be right. I wasn't sure myself when we were going to go back home again. Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we get dressed, have some breakfast, and we'll go out and find someone who can help us, all right? Yeah. Can Kitty have breakfast too? Sure, he can. It was already 10 a.m. when they left out the door. They drove to Bennett Hall Realty, located at 429 West Belmont. Of course, that place doesn't exist. It's fiction. They walked into a nice, cozy little office where an older man of 45 to 50 years of age approached them and offered his name and services immediately. Hello, my name is Mr. Hall. Motioning his hands towards the seat in front of his desk, he said, Please have a seat. Thank you. It's good to meet you, Mr. Hall. Sitting down gracefully and propped her son onto her lap. I'm here hoping to find someone who will help me sell my house. My name is Cynthia Blake, and this is my son, Anthony. Well, you've come to the right place then. Can you tell me where your property is located? Of course, by Albany and Addison. Okay, that's not far away from here. Do you have the deed to the house with you? Yes, I have it right here. But it's not really mine. It belonged to my mother who passed away 3 weeks ago. Handing him the document across the desk. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Sounding condescending. Thank you. You see, as much as I would like to keep the house, it wouldn't just be too much for me. My work and home is up by Maine, and I'm quite comfortable there. You come a long way. He answered, surprised. You don't have to explain. We're here to help you whatever problem you have easier. Well, thanks again, because I would like to go home as soon as possible, trying to make him see the urgency at hand. Asking politely, he said, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a drive back to your place and have a quick look at it, if it's all right with you. Sure, no problem. The sooner the better. Liz, he shouted, turning swiftly to Cynthia, saying, oh, that's my wife. We've been in business here for 15 years. An older woman came in the back of the door with a set of keys, jingling in her hands, and said, are you going to need these? She knows me so well, he said with a big smile that reached from corner to corner on his face. What car are you driving? He had changed the subject to the matter at hand. She turned, pointing to the vehicle through the open blue blinds. The yellow wagon. It's right out in front. You can't miss it. I'll come around and follow you. I have a brown sedan. I'll beep. And he walked out the back door in which his wife had come in. All right, come on, honey. She flew Anthony up into her arms and said goodbye to the older woman that walked out the front glass door. As they reached the house, Mr. Hall met Cynthia on the sidewalk. This is it, Cynthia said. Mr. Hall stood there for a few seconds staring at the house that included a basement, attic, and a fresh scent that surrounded the place from the beautiful flowers. Are you sure you want to sell this place? Because I think we can find a buyer pretty fast. I'd hate for you to change your mind after it's been sold. If you only knew how desperate she was. Oh, believe me, there's nothing here that will change my mind. All right, then. I'll go back and start on the paperwork, and I'm going to have to send someone out to make sure the house is up to code. I should have the first buyer to look around in about a week. How does that sound? I had the papers, apart when I first started. Great. Her face lit up with an exasperation. Can you come in tomorrow and sign some release forms? At any time, I'll be here all day. He looked at her, waiting for her reply. Yes, of course I can, offering herself without hesitation. Good then. That with a wave of his hand and a smile, he said goodbye before driving away in the car. The evening came quick, and Cynthia found herself some work that she had brung from her office before she left. Lovingly, she watched Anthony playing with a few old trucks with the kitten and blocks that came from the attic. It was 9 o'clock, and again, from the second time that day, the phone rang. And of course, it had to be no other than her Aunt Myra. I'm sorry, I forgot. How are you, Cynthia? A strange, heavy voice asked. Yeah?
Can I have chocolate now?
Yeah, go ahead. But that's it for the night. No more.
Okay.
Okay. It was 9 o'clock again for the second time. That day, the phone rang, and of course, it had to be no other than her Aunt Myra. I'm sorry, I forgot. How are you, Cynthia? A strange, heavy male voice asked. Who is this? She pressed to know. It's Vincent. The voice on the other end answered. Vincent who? I don't know any Vincent. His name slowly came out with disbelief from her lips, and Cynthia immediately hung up the phone. Shocked at what she just heard, she stood there stunned, wondering in fact if that could have been Anthony's father. A few seconds went by, then right after the phone rang again. This time, Cynthia wasn't scared to pick it up. Staring at the phone indecisively, wondering whether or not this was real or if someone was playing a cruel joke. And if so, it wasn't funny. It continued to ring, but she wasn't about to let herself be intimidated by anyone. Anthony jumped up loudly across the room. Mommy, the phone! She observed her son's face, knowing he was right, and decided to be brave and answer the phone once more. Who is this? Now with a stern voice and demanding a straight response. Don't hang up. the voice blurred out. It's me, Vinny. She couldn't believe it. Why would this person right out of the blue call her? You, how in the world did you get this number, and why are you calling me here? I need to speak to you. And he strangely added, about what? I haven't seen you for the last 5 years. I have nothing to say to you. Don't call here again. In all her anger, she slammed the receiver down hard. But realizing that he might try again, she took the receiver off and placed it on the table next to the phone. A burning anger rose within her. How dare he? How could he even possibly think that I'd want to speak to him? She didn't realize that she was speaking out loud until her son called out to her. Mommy, he called with this disturbed look on his little face. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I think I only have like 2 more pages. 3, maybe 4 more pages to go. And again, I didn't bring a pencil or a pen. Okay, I'm going to try to remember where I left off. But now, again, oh, it just flew out of my head. When I was reading this, as you realize by now, Vinny's the father of Anthony. And I remember writing, I got to find that. I don't know where it's at. I got to find that. And I remember writing that the reason he was obsessed, he knew she had a son. He knew it.